Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Katie Greifeld. We're counting you down to the closing bell, and here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with Tim Stenovec and Carol Massar still here for 3.5 days this week. Welcome to our Bloomberg audiences across television, radio, as well as our partnership with YouTube. Carol Massar.
Today already feels like 3.5 days, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, I assume you're referring more to the market rather than to me, because we have a market that's causing a lot of concerns here. I mean, look, we talk about this rise in rates here, and it's been relentless. This sell-off that we've been seeing, pushing rates higher once again here, and that's having an outsized effect on equities as well. Yeah,
absolutely. You see it in the trade, and I feel like finally everybody's getting kind of into or understanding of this idea that it's going to be a higher rate environment, and where we ultimately top out, who knows, but it's going to stick around for some time. Having said that, one of the things that jumped out for me and very sensitive to the rate environment is home builders. They're down about 1%. Specifically, they'll want to call from UBS, which lowered price targets on several names, D.R. Horton, KB Home, Lennar. But I'm going to keep watching that home sector because I feel like very sensitive to what's going on. That group's up for the year, Tim, but nonetheless down about 1% today.
I'm trying to get as much commentary about the consumer and the strength of the consumer as I can. We're about to get into earnings season, so we're going to hear from the big banks soon, and we'll get some commentary about the consumer from them. But Romaine, the big take today, all about the U.S. recession being more likely than a soft landing. Mm-hmm. So we spoke to Anna Wong about that. And then we just spoke to Lisa Erickson over at U.S. Bank Wealth Management, who said the consumer is hanging in there. The consumer is hanging in there. So, what's going on?
But hanging in there, I don't know. You want a strong consumer. You don't want one hanging by, basically their fingertips off the cliff, which is what it sounds like. A lot of people think that we're where we're at right now. And I guess we're going to find out in a big way, Tim, over the next couple months here as we head into the U.S. holiday seasons. Let's walk you through some of the numbers here with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Going to finish the day in the red, down about 0.2%. Meanwhile, the S&P 500, which was down more than 0.6% at one point, actually inching back into the green here at the close, only higher by less than 1 point here, but I guess some people will take that here. The NASDAQ Composite doing a little bit better, up about 0.7% here on the day. The NASDAQ 100 up 0.8%, but the big laggard on the day was the Russell 2000, which was right around down about 2% and at its lowest point on the day. It's going to close here, Carol, down 1.6%.
Yeah, and down for the year. It's down about 0.25%. So very telling in terms of those domestic companies here in the United States.
And almost down 10% from that year-to-date high, too.
Yeah, significant, right? Yeah. And I think we're getting a lot of market conversations around that trade in particular and what it forecasts. Katie, hey, the S&P 500, not as negative as it looked certainly earlier in the day, as Romaine pointed out, but still 391 names to the downside. Katie, 112 actually eking out some gains here.
Yeah, and you're taking a look at the industry groups here. There's definitely more red than green. If we think about what did well, though, media and entertainment stocks, so too some software and services, and some semi-names as well. But then you go down towards the bottom, energy, banks, some of your biggest losers, and utilities. I want to meditate on utilities here because it's just an awful day. On an industry group level, utilities fell 4.7%. The sector alone fell 5.6%. to its lowest level since June 2020. So quite a breakdown in utilities, Carol.
And can I just real quickly just add transports to that? I know it's not an S&P sector, but I was just looking at that. If you go from the highs in July, we're now down more than 11% from those highs. So basically correction territory.
All right, guys, let's get to, I think that's really significant. I always love watching those names, right? They're companies that move stuff around and it's a great indication of what's going on in the economy. I do want to go to NVIDIA, if I may, because it's topping the S&P 500 today. At its highs up almost 4%, finishing the day, though, still with about a 3% gain. Goldman Sachs adding that name to its conviction list. The firm seeing strong long-term growth prospects for the chip maker, as we know, a major player when it comes to all things AI. There's more to it. Check out the Bloomberg and you can get a little bit more on what Goldman said, but nonetheless a standout today. Also top in the S&P 500 today, Google, Alphabet specifically. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella testifying today in the DOJ antitrust case against Google, saying that Google is likely to extend its dominance of the search market into a new generation of AI-powered tools, basically giving the edge when it comes to AI. It was very different from some of what maybe he said back in February when Microsoft beat Google with an AI-based
this trial
version.
is really like giving us a lot of gifts here, a lot of
It
like
is.
Easter eggs about kind of what these companies were doing and
What they really
their
think about
plans,
one
what they were
another.
going to buy, what they weren't here. Yeah, quite interesting.
Yeah, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
Google, though, then as a maybe potentially, right, can maybe draw a line there to what Satya Nadella said, giving a boost maybe to shares of Alphabet. And then Sphere Entertainment. I don't know if you guys have seen what they are
Yes.
doing in Vegas. It is unbelievable.
It looks
right?
so cool.
I want to go to this
Would
U2
you go
concert.
to see U2, Katie?
Yes, absolutely. Are you kidding?
That's cool. I'll go.
$1.4 billion market cap company, live entertainment media company. Sphere venue in Las Vegas opened on Friday with a show by U2 specifically. But the stock, quite a rally. It's up about 105% year to date, about 9% of the float shorted. But I do think about, right, when we go to see a concert, it's often in a sports stadium. This is a venue that was created specifically for performers.
Instead of a sports stadium, you could be inside of a shape. That sounds
It's
awesome.
a lot of video screens, almost as many as
I
we
did.
have.
To be fair, I did have friends sending me videos from, like
Did they
TikToks of the
go?
concerts. No, it was TikToks. Like they were going viral all weekend.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I watched them all. I loved it.
All right, let's get to some of the decliners here. Katie, you talked about utilities lagging. The worst performer on a points basis and a percentage basis was indeed a utility. Nextera Energy. Goldman Sachs cut its price target to $72 from $83. Fell today by close to 9%. Rivian also finishing it down lower. Shares falling after the company's full-year delivery outlook missed the average analyst estimate, down 2.55% on the day. This as third quarter vehicle deliveries beat expectations. Should note shares were up 18% last week, so, keep this in perspective. And then here's one for you, Kellanova. It's the company formerly known as Kellogg Company, or at least some of it.
Yeah.
It's completed its separation of its
Kellanova.
North American.
That's what they're
That just rolls
called?
off the tongue.
It
right?
does, yeah. Kellanova. It's
How
like,
much did they
Kellanova.
pay?
New
It's like
Kellogg. New
cereal
Kellogg.
in space.
How much did they pay a marketing consultant?
Pringles,
for
Cheez-Its,
FNP?
Pop-Tarts, Kellogg's Rice Krispie Treats, Morningstar Farms, Incognito. That's a good name. Incognito is a good name. Garden Burger, RX Bar, Eggo, and more. It's the first day, down 5%. WK Kellogg Company is now the other company from
Yeah.
Kellogg. That fell today too.
Yeah, they're interesting moves here because I thought investors were sort of welcome to this, but I guess for today, I don't know, Tim.
Did Mondelez start this, Romaine?
I don't know. I mean,
kinda
there's been a
reminds
lot
me
of
of what they did a
discussion
few
as to
years
whether
ago.
there was like more value to sort of be have some of these consumer product companies sort of as standalones rather than that sort of conglomerate model here. And I don't know. It honestly was confusing. We were speaking with our Bloomberg reporter a little bit earlier, who was kind of talking about one is focused on the North American cereal business and the other on European. And then Katie asked a good question, like, is there a difference? I mean, I don't know.
I'm
Apparently
glad I wasn't the only
cereal-
one confused by it.
I don't know. Do they eat? I don't know.
International
What do they eat?
cereal versus North American
International cereal is doing better than North American
Okay.
cereal,
Is it
cereal
porridge?
right now.
Is it porridge that they eat overseas?
I don't know. I don't think I want that. But apparently the rise of snacking in the U.S. Has sort of taken away from North American cereal. At least that's what I heard. So.
All right. Well, Carol Massar, of course, dunking on our European friends there. And
I
their
love
porridge
our
here.
European friends.
Well, let's talk about what's this real quickly in the yield space here. Because
Yeah.
I do want to go back to that here because it was a pretty strong move higher across the whole yield curve, particularly in the middle of the curve. 11 basis points higher on a 5-year, 12 basis points higher on the 10-year, and even your 20 and 30-year was up about 10 basis points or so here. And this has really become the story here because that had a big effect on the dollar, and that in turn had a big effect on what we saw on commodities, and obviously, of course, a big effect on what we had in the equity markets. And the big question now becomes what sort of arrests this sell-off that we've been seeing in treasuries. We heard from Powell earlier today. He didn't really have much to say, but we heard from Bowman and a few other members as well here, and the higher for longer mantra is still there.
And the flip side of that question, what arrests the sell-off, is also how high do we go? Because especially on the 10-year, we're looking at some pretty amazing levels, nearing in on 470. Of course, we're at 15-year highs or
amazing.
something. Do we get above 5%? It looks a lot closer than it did even just a month ago, even just a week ago.
Yeah, it is pretty. Wait, go
Well, I was
ahead.
going to say Katie Kaminsky's 6% that she talked to us a few months ago
Seems
about.
charming right now.
Yeah, it does seem charming. I mean, now, is it Jamie Dimon's 7% that we're headed to?
But this gets back to I don't know if it was Tim or Carol about the idea of the consumer hanging on to. But we forget, like, it's not just what people are paying, but also just the debt servicing costs that they have already. It's easy to talk about fixed rate mortgages, but you forget all the credit card balances out there that presumably are now now being charged a much higher rate than what they would have been, I don't know, a year or two ago here. And there's a lot of other revolving credit as well as new forms of credit, such as buying cars and other things that people have to do, where it's just going to completely change the dynamics of what's left in your bank account after you pay that bill.
It's why we have to continue to keep watching consumer balance sheets, spending
Yeah.
patterns, what's happening on, with credit card delinquencies. This really tells us the health or lack thereof of the consumer. So
Yeah, there's only so many people that can fly to Vegas and sit inside a dome.
Sit in
you
the
weren't supposed to
sphere.
tell anybody.
Guest
that
tickets are
that's
only
what
like
I did
120
this
bucks
weekend.
too. They're pretty cheap.
Some people go to Beyonce, somebody, some go to the Sphere.
thinks that's
Some
cheap.
seer and
Tim thinks that's cheap.
Peter.
All right.
Anyway.
We got to wrap.
High roller over there.
He's a high
120
roller.
bucks.
All right, guys.
I
That
want the $20 seats. Where are those?
They don't have those at the Sphere, sorry.
All right, Monday's over. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter are now underway, certainly in the trading world. All right, guys,
Yeah,
join
we
us. What?
We are, Carol. It's fourth quarter. Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder. All right, we will be back again. Our cross-platform coverage, radio, TV, YouTube, and, of course, Bloomberg Originals. We'll see you again tomorrow.